All right, let's talk about the Lions, Pete. Don't need to give it a big build-up. This is a great segment on the Lions and how Dan Campbell has really turned that franchise around. Let's take a listen.
Are the Detroit Lions playing the best football at this point?
I mean, I think it's hard to argue that they're not.
They steal teams' hope right from
He's
the
doing a
beginning.
great job.
With the way they get off the bus, they're coming in to punch you right in the mouth. And they do it for 4 quarters. They beat you any way they want to. If you want to throw it, they've got explosiveness down the field. If they want to ground and pound, they can go do that. And they have the most efficient quarterback in the NFL right now. 3 incompletions, 12 of 15, 3 touchdowns. Jared Goff is playing as well, if not better, than anybody else in the league right now.
He's playing his best football. And I'll add this, JB, real quick. They're fun to watch.
Yeah, they are.
Just
They
straight
are
up
fun
and
to
down.
watch.
Listen, they'll hit you in between the tackles, old school football. But it seems like week in and week out, they're pulling a trick play out. And not only are they pulling it out, it's
David Montgomery
working.
was pretty nice with that
Sounds like
pass.
they're talking about the
Nice.
Chiefs.
They say once you hear the roar, it's too late. And it's too late for a lot of these teams
Once
to
you
have
hear
this
the
lead on
roar.
the Lions.
I love that, Pete. Once you hear the roar, it's too late.
It's a great comment. It really is. And that guy does an outstanding job. Former player. I think he's on like a Good Morning America type show or whatever it is. And he still does the sports shows. I mean, this guy, he kind of does it all. It's amazing how impressive he is. He does a great job. But John, before we get to that, let's just, we jumped away from it a little bit. And I did that on purpose because we wanted to see how it was playing out. And I'm talking about the World Series. So we look at the 2 franchises that are never afraid to spend a lot of money. And this year it worked. It doesn't always work. We sometimes get teams that actually have somewhere in the category of 100 million rather than 300 plus million. And this year it was those that were spending the money. And the Dodgers did an absolutely amazing job. They went out and got Ohtani. He didn't do as well in the World Series as he probably would have wanted to, but nonetheless, he's the reason they got there. Let's be honest. He and a lot of the other guys on the team. One of the stats that I saw, John, that I thought was really interesting, and the Dodgers won it last night for anybody who missed on that, but they played 29 different players for the Dodgers during October. 29 different players. I mean, imagine that. That's something that's pretty unusual, I would say, for baseball. It shows you a little bit of the depth, how good they do a good job of going out and finding the right players, the players that actually fit to what they want to do. And last night's game was the epitome of the entire season. They were so damn good. You can just almost feel it coming. And they made an unbelievable run. The way they were able to play the game was how they played the entire season and the postseason and got into the World Series run with it. They had a great run at home. They go out to New York and they just were fantastic. It was an amazing series, John, what they were able to do. That Freddie Freeman guy, I mean, how do you not like this guy? I mean,
Love him.
4 home runs, 13 RBIs. He ends up being the MVP. He does everything you'd ever want. And, you can't say enough about how good the Dodgers really looked. Even when they were down, they were not down. They didn't look like a team that was struggling. They looked like a team that said, all right, you punched us in the mouth. Now it's your turn. We're going to punch you in the mouth. Speaking of punching in the mouth. But did you get a chance to watch any of it, John? Because it was a damn good series, but a really great game last night.
It was, but it was a really tough one, Pete, for the Yanks because, Aaron Judge, I love him, and he ate Ohtani.
Yeah.
Because Ohtani can play the field. He can pitch. This is not the year when he's going to do that, of course, because of his shoulder injury and or elbow injury. But Aaron Judge had a rough night last night and had, I think, a ball bounce out of his glove or it hit his glove or whatever, Pete. It's not a great stage to make mistakes like that because everybody's watching. But he's a tremendous player. I'm sure the Yankees are both proud to get there and, going to be hungry for next year. So let's just see how they do in the offseason, what moves they might make. But as you said, the Dodgers made all the right moves in the offseason, picking up Ohtani and so forth.
Yep. Amazing. I mean, the guy set the record, obviously, with the stealing of bases and all the different things. just an amazing guy. And he didn't even pitch this year. Who knows? Maybe next year he pitches. I mean, it could be pretty interesting. All right, John, I thought we could do just sort of a rapid fire thing where we go through a couple of the NFL games, not the college games. College games are great, but there's really only one great game this week, which is Ohio State, Penn State. So that one's going to be pretty damn exciting. And I think, when you got two top 4 teams, you really got yourself a pretty damn good game, and that one should be pretty good. I don't even know which way I lean. I think Penn State's maybe a little overrated, undefeated, but who knows when it comes time to go up against Ohio State. But the NFL, we'll just run through these pretty quick. The Cowboys and the Falcons. Now, the Cowboys got problems, right? I mean, this is a 3-4 football team that spent a hell of a lot of money on a wide receiver, a hell of a lot of money on a quarterback, and they've got 3 wins so far out of 7 games. Not so great. That's a bit of a problem. And you know what? It's going to be interesting. The problem for Dallas, though, is their whole focus is offense. Their defense stinks. I mean, stinks with a capital S. They have not been able to stop anybody, John. What do you think happens in this one? Does Kirk Cousins start lighting them up? Because Kirk, for all the criticisms he used to take, that guy has put together an unbelievable resume, both with the Vikings and now down in Atlanta. It's just lighting it up for him, and they're getting opportunities.
Well, I'm going to say, Pete, it's a must-win for the Cowboys, but they're not going to do it. They're going to lose to Atlanta. Next.
Broncos, Ravens. Bo Nix. Everybody was flushing him down the toilet, right? He was the one guy. I caught flack from guys on Twitter and other places, John, because I was so high on him, and they said, well, you don't really see it right. Well, let's see. He's had 8 touchdowns and 1 interception in the last 5 games. They're now a 5-3 football team going to Baltimore. And as good as Baltimore is, if the defense can even slow down the Ravens, Bo Nix might be able to light them up, because the defense for the Ravens is not the defense the Ravens have always had. Offense, off the charts. Defense, not that great. What about this one?
Well, Harbaugh is known for defense, and you're right. He ain't going to be happy with how that defense has played. That said, when you've got the king, the running back there, Pete, I don't think you can stop Henry. And they can ground and pound, as that analyst just said, talking about the Lions. They can ground and pound, so I'm going to give it to the Ravens. But I'd love to see a big game out of Nix as well.
And you brought up the Lions, and that was where I'm going next. The Lions are 6-1. They're playing the Packers, who are 6-2. This is going to be a heck of a game. Now, they both, I think, in a lot of ways. Now, Jordan Love, I don't think is as good as Goff. But Goff has been almost perfect. Nobody's been as good as Goff. Goff has had like 3 or 4 games in a row, John, where you look at him and he's like 2 incompletions, 3 incompletions. I mean, he's playing out of his mind because they can run the ball so well with the 2 running backs that they've got. And the Packers have a heck of a good running back as well, which is helping out Jordan Love. I still think that Detroit's the better team. I think that their defense does miss Hutchinson, but not so much that they're going to lose. I think they have a much better chance of winning. So I'm going to put my money with the Lions. What do you think about this one?
Up in Lambeau, that is a home field advantage, of course, but Lions win this one, even up there in Lambeau.
All right, the talk of the week. Here's the talk of the week is the Colts. Not the Vikings, the Colts. And why are they talking about it? Well, because they got a quarterback that they took last year, not this year, last year, Richardson, who during the game last week decided he came out, John, because he was tired. You know what the head coach decided to do?
Sit him down.
Well, just stay there on the bench. We're going to bring in a different quarterback. And Joe Flacco, 39-year-old Joe Flacco, is absolutely coming back like a champion and has done really, really well. Right now, John, in the couple of games he's played, he's got 7 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's got 65% completion. Richardson has 4 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and 44% completion rate. And you and I talked about this. This guy was a high round pick. I mean, he was first rounder. I think he was number 4, somewhere close to that, wherever he was. Doesn't even matter. He was very high pick. And why? Because he could throw the ball a mile. He could run really fast, but nobody seemed to watch any of his tape where he was very average. Well, he's showing you how average he is in the NFL right now. And maybe his attitude needs a little bit of tweaking too when he comes off the field because he's tired. Are you kidding me? I think you've played when you were tired. I played when I was tired. Running backs for their team right now are playing when they're tired. This was a really, really weird thing. And I think the better quarterback for the Colts anyway is Flacco, because he's going to have to read that Viking defense the way Stafford did. If he can do that, he could light up the Vikings defense too, John. We'll have to see how it plays out, but I think Joe Flacco's the better coach or quarterback to be in there anyway.
Yeah, and you and I talked about Richardson, Pete. Nobody had him that high until he showed up at the combine, and he ran fast, jumped high, and was a big kid, strong arm and everything. He was all of that at Florida. But how many national championships or how many big games did Florida win? None. I mean, I like the kid, but I agree with you. I've never seen a leader step out when he's tired. And that's what the quarterback is, a leader. So hopefully that kid matures. But I'll tell you what, you give Flacco an inch, he'll take a mile. He's done it everywhere he's played. That's why he's got Super Bowl ring. And that's why he's almost taken the other teams that were also Rams that close into the playoffs to get to another Super Bowl. Not saying the Colts are that team, but I'm thinking the Vikings still win this game, Pete. But Flacco is somebody that I root for whenever I see him step on the field.
Yep. Great guy, great kid. I can call him a kid even though he's 39 years old because I'm old enough to be his father. But I'll tell you what, he's impressive as hell. He really is, because he's been the grinder the last 4 or 5 years. He's the guy who comes in and he's the mature, older guy. And when he gets on the field, he don't look that old. He looks pretty damn good. So I don't know, John. He might be able to get through the Vikings. I'm not so sure about it right now. They've had a couple of decent games that they've put up a lot of points. We'll see if they can do that against the Vikings. But Flacco's been the reason.